There's a lot of worried people watching this monster storm. Meteorologist Tom Sater is tracking it for us. So, Tom, when you look at what happened to Barbuda, just walk us through what the rest of the islands in the region should be expecting.
Okay. Well, if there's good news in the foreseeable future, we're not looking at a direct landfall with this eye for the next couple of days. That happened, of course, with the Leeward Islands, and we'll get back to that in a moment. But again, when you look at history and Super Typhoon Haiyan, which was the strongest ever to make landfall anywhere in any landmass in the world, this is only 20 kilometers per hour difference. Again, it's amazing. It has sustained this strength for over 30 hours. And that's what's hard to fathom and to wrap our minds around. Staying just to the north will not make a landfall in Puerto Rico, will not make a landfall in Dominican Republic or Haiti. But it did swallow the island of Barbuda. It moved over St. Martin and Anguilla. We're still waiting to hear word of communications. By the time the back edge moves out of the area, maybe tomorrow, if there are any aircraft in the area that can fly, we'll get up and give us some sort of aerial assessment. Crews on the ground, of course, are going to be going through damage assessment as well. Then it moved through the British Virgin Islands, and that thing smacked right across the island, so there's big concern there as well. The U.S. Virgin Islands were spared. There was some flooding in St. Croix in the harbor, and maybe some wind damage. But when it comes to San Juan and in Puerto Rico, notice the eye. This is where the winds are the strongest, but I want to point out a secondary band. You see that little yellow band behind it? This may be going through a process we call an eye wall replacement cycle. It's kind of like a reorganization. Wobbles a little bit, like spinning a top on a table. It'll wobble after a while. Those strong winds in the center fan out, create a secondary band, and then that outer band tightens and it gains strength again. That process takes maybe 10 to 12 hours, but that second band is going to drop some heavy rainfall in San Juan, Puerto Rico, risk of flash flooding and landslides. Warnings, Turks and Caicos, evacuations taking place there, as well as southeast areas of Bahamas, where they're looking at a good 6-meter storm surge, much greater than on the northern coast of Puerto Rico, because they're in the worst quadrant possible. That is the northeastern quadrant, whereas the system spins counterclockwise, throws the wind, throws the waves, that heavy rainfall in that area as well. So going forward, the track from the National Hurricane Center changed a little bit from 24 hours ago, shifting it maybe 80 kilometers, just a little bit toward the east. We still have this cone of uncertainty. It could go in the Gulf, could go to the east. This would be best case scenario if it slid away from the U.S. But that window is about only cracked a few millimeters, so it's shutting quickly. In fact, when you look at the models, they were hinting at interaction with Cuba. That would be devastating for Cuba. When you get a Category 4 over these mountains that are, over 6,000 feet, that wrings out so much water in the system. That would really devastate it with flash flooding down into the valleys and the communities. But it would save, maybe in some strength, Category 2 then moving into the U.S. But now it doesn't look like we're going to have much interaction. That's good for Cuba, but we're looking at this path now more to the east, Zane, and that means everyone in Florida and in the Carolinas needs to prepare for a possible landfall still this weekend, but into Monday as well. We'll keep tweaking it every day.
All right, Tom Sater live for us there. Thank you so much. And we now have the governor of Puerto Rico.